What if self-doubt isn't a weakness, but it's actually a sign of growth? I know many new entrepreneurs, they grapple with this issue of self-doubt, not believing in yourself, thinking that you're worthy, thinking that you're competent enough, wondering if you have the credibility or the authority to operate at a certain level or to operate your business, to provide the expertise that you think you have. And so you grapple with self-doubt. And for many, self-doubt could seem like a weakness. But what if self-doubt is actually a sign of growth? Are you embracing self-doubt as growth? Do you know how to embrace self-doubt as growth? And self-doubt could simply mean that you're stepping out into the unknown, and it's naturally a fearful thing, or it's natural for you to be fearful about stepping out into the unknown, and that is what creates self-doubt. But think about, have you ever thought about reframing how you see self-doubt, how self-doubt impacts on you? And instead of treating it as a tool of fear, try start treating self-doubt as a tool of growth. When I first started my business, in the early days when I was employed and first started dabbling in entrepreneurship, as it were, it was very hard for me to convince myself that I was good enough, that I had what it took, and that I could be this entrepreneur, this businessman. And so it seemed like a gamble, getting into business with the mindset that I had at that time. It always seemed like a gamble. But over time, I have learned to reframe that self-doubt and to see it as a sign of me growing, a sign of me needing to equip myself more, to take my learning up to the next level so that I could combat whatever insecurities that I have been dealing with. And over time, I realized that that uncertainty wasn't a sign of failure, but indeed it was a sign of me growing, stretching beyond what I know, stretching beyond the comforts of a stable job, stretching beyond the comforts of a stable 9 to 5. If you don't reframe self-doubt, it will cripple you. You need to start looking at self-doubt from a wider lens, as it will, so that you begin to see self-doubt as a tool of growth. And how could you start to use or see self-doubt as a tool of growth? Well, first, you need to acknowledge your self-doubt. Don't bury your head in the sand. You bury your head in the sand. Make sure that you come face to face with what you are doubtful of in your abilities. So you might be doubtful of your knowledge, or you might be doubtful of your status, your placing, your position in various networks. You might lack confidence in stepping out. You might think that you haven't saved up enough. You don't have a financial cushion or a sufficient financial cushion. All these things could fuel self-doubt. But for you to start to see and use self-doubt as a growth tool, you have to acknowledge your self-doubt. Examine your inner being, examine yourself carefully and ask yourself, what am I doubtful of? What is plaguing my mind? What is preventing me from moving forward with venturing into entrepreneurship? And acknowledge yourself. The next thing is that you need to convince yourself or remind yourself that having these fears are all part of your growth process. Having these fears is normal for someone venturing out into the unknown. Remember, as a professional transitioning into entrepreneurship, you're going into the unknown. You might be familiar with the industry and the work and the business and have knowledge and skills, but you're unfamiliar with the prospects. You're unfamiliar with how soon you're going to have income from the business, how long it will take you to pay yourself to the standard that you have been used to in your employment. So you have to remind yourself that having these doubts is a sign of growth. And once you reach a stage where you remind yourself sufficiently that, listen, this is a place of growth, having these self-doubts, then you begin to reframe it as making progress. Reframe it as progress. Reframe your self-doubt as progressive. Because if I were doing something, pursuing a goal, pursuing entrepreneurship, and I didn't become fearful of something, then it means that I'm not doing enough or I'm not ready yet to transition. You become the most fearful, the most self-doubt at the time when you're absolutely ready to leave that job to start your own business. And I'm not talking about a side hustle or something that you do part-time. I'm talking about at the point where you're ready to take that full-time plunge. That's when the self-doubt is at its peak. And when you're at that stage, you could tell yourself that, listen, I have made progress in this transition point. I'm at the point where I need to take the next step. But if you haven't arrived at that place yet, then you won't have the degree of self-doubt that is almost crippling, that makes you second guess your decisions and think twice about what you're getting involved in. That is when you have reached the stage of progress. And at that stage, you are able to embrace the self-doubt. And that's my question to you this morning. Are you at the place where you embrace self-doubt? Because when you embrace self-doubt, now you understand that it's a fuel. Now you understand that having those doubts is like a, a at point. You know, when you those of you who drive, if your engine in your car is experiencing any sort of malfunction, a check engine light will come on. That's what self-doubt is in entrepreneurship. Self-doubt is like that check engine light comes on at the moment when you need to do a little bit of assessment and just assess whether or not your plans are in place properly, assess whether or not you're ready, or your systems are set up for a smooth transition over into entrepreneurship or a smooth enough transition into entrepreneurship. That self-doubt is that regulator, that reminder. Yes, the reminder. So I want to leave that with you this morning. You're a professional, an employee, you want to have your own business, you started working towards your own business, but you just have this little nagging feeling in the back of your mind and sometimes consuming you that tells you that you're not ready. For various reasons, you might think that you're not ready. I want to encourage you to embrace self-doubt as a tool of growth. Self-doubt is a sign that you are stepping out into the unknown and that you are near ready for that new phase. If you found this video helpful this morning, I want to thank you for watching another episode of Coaching in the Car. And I want to encourage you to like and to share this video. Also, if you haven't already, but you're here watching this, subscribe to the channel where every day I try to bring some strategies and tactics on transitioning into entrepreneurship. I write religiously every morning on LinkedIn. So you can visit my LinkedIn profile, connect with me there, follow me so that you can get more in-depth content on these topics. The link I have left it in the show notes. And every Sunday I also produce a newsletter, Becoming an Entrepreneur newsletter. Feel free to follow me on my website, join the newsletter, subscribe. I put out quite a lengthy newsletter which is chock full of expanded content. And I also have available my book, Becoming an Entrepreneur, which even goes into greater detail and is available on Amazon. All the links to my expanded content and more information, more strategies, more tools are in the description. Feel free to follow me, to join, and I look forward to another episode of Coaching in the Car with you. I want to tell you thanks once again, like and subscribe, and I look forward. See you again. Peace.